Today we're taking a look at how to export an MP4 file from Adobe Premiere. So let's jump in. So I've got my video file here. So I believe these are the Carpathian Mountains in the Ukraine. I wish I could say I shot this. I did not. This is stock footage off of video blocks. I'm a big fan of short keys. The best way to export this, first, okay, this is the key thing. Make sure that the timeline is the window that you're selected. If you do the short key, I'm going to tell you, and let's say the program window is selected, or the source monitor, or whatever it is, it's not going to work. You're going to be frustrated wondering what's going on. You're going to waste a lot of time. So make sure the timeline area here is selected. Hold down Control and press M, or Command M if you're on a Mac. Now these are default hotkeys. This is standard from what Adobe Premiere comes with. I haven't changed them. It works for me. I've just been using it for so many years. It's just kind of normal. Now in the pop-up window that just came up, we're looking at the right-hand column. Starting from the top here, it says Format. The format, you're here probably because it does not say MP4 here. So click on Format, and what we're looking for is H.264, alphabetical order, so it's right here. And this is what we'll export as an MP4. Click on that. Now by default, the preset says Match Source High Bitrate. If you look at the bottom here, it says estimated file size, 27 megabytes. Let's say you have some kind of a longer file or something where you can't have it over X amount of megabytes or gigabytes for the upload. The first thing that I will tweak here is I'll keep it in the H.264 format, but I'll go to the preset and choose medium bitrate. So match source, medium bitrate. So okay, before we do this, match source high bitrate, it says estimated file size 27 megs. So let's say medium bitrate. And that 27 megs is now 8 megabytes. So we just slashed this in like 2/3 just with that one tweak. And going from medium bitrate to high bitrate, most people, unless you have a trained eye, you can't notice a difference. If you're looking for to keep the file size down, do that. If the file size isn't an issue, I always say use the highest bitrate. And also go on to the bottom here, it says use maximum render quality. Can you tell a difference between one versus the other? I think it probably adds another 1 or 2% perfection to how the image quality looks. I always choose that, especially when we're looking at client stuff or I'm doing some kind of a film or a documentary. I'll make sure I always select use maximum render quality. Now, the rest of this, don't worry about. You need to get it in MP4 format. It's H.264, and the preset, in this case, does say custom because I just clicked use maximum render quality. But otherwise, it would say, high bitrate. Oh, it says output name. So I call this MP4 tutorial, that's the name of the timeline. It'll just pull your timeline name, in this case, MP4, because that's how it's going to export. If you want to change where it's being saved to, if you want to change the file name for the output file, you click on this part here and it will do that for you. And you can go ahead and make those changes. Pretty much everything else here is going to stay the same. As far as modifying all this, that's a tutorial for another day. That's a whole other thing. Now at the bottom here, you really have two options, queue or export. They both do the same thing but in different ways. If you say export, it'll just start rendering within Adobe Premiere. Now, that means you can't use Premiere until this thing is done exporting. If you're doing a very heavy file, if it's like 4K, 6K, a long thing, you're gonna be here for quite a while and Premiere's locked up, you can't touch it. If you say queue, it will open Adobe Media Encoder and will bring this file to Media Encoder, and there you can tweak things as well as far as the bit rate and things like that. And then it also allows Premiere to stay available. So that way, I usually use queue because first off, it tends to be much faster than doing it right within Premiere. But second, if you have encoder open and you're encoding and you close Premiere, that'll help free up resources on your computer and encode faster. Another benefit of saying queue and sending it to Media Encoder is that frees up Premiere so you can still use it and you can kind of go around your timeline and if you haven't already, pull a still frame from there to create a thumbnail or whatever. And then whenever you can, then close Premiere. Premiere tends to be kind of a memory hog on your computer, especially when you're encoding something, especially longer format videos. In whether it's Premiere or Media Encoder, you want to close Premiere or any other programs that might be kind of bulky while that process is happening. It'll make it go faster and less chance of any kind of errors. So hopefully you found that helpful. A little bit of a long-winded answer, but I'd rather give you too much information than not enough. So now you have a little bit more of an education on exporting with Adobe Premiere and with Media Encoder. All right, guys, that is it. If this helped you, give it a thumbs up. If not, give it a thumbs down. Let me know in the comments below how I missed the mark and what questions you would like to have had answered that I did not cover. I think I'm going to be making another video on media encoder because, again, that's a whole other thing. It's a very important topic, but that's just not for today. Today, just the MP4 export, which you now have. Take care.